Welcome to No Boxes, Just Verses, the podcast where we go beyond the bios, beyond the titles, and explore the lessons that shape today's most inspiring voices, all through the songs that move them. Each week, we build a playlist of a leader's life: 5 songs, 5 lessons, one unforgettable conversation.
Let's put the pedal to the metal, let the top lean back. I don't know where we're going, I don't know what we're running to. I'm checking for you, how you feel about that. I think it's time we rendezvous.
Today, I have the honor of sitting down with someone whose music has been the soundtrack to so many of our lives, the incomparable Mr. Kenny Lattimore.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having me and making me feel totally at home. I'm comfortable in my little t-shirt. I was like, I'm with Shannon. We get to just have a great conversation and a talk. This is awesome. So
This is so awesome. And so for our listeners, I just want to give them the snippet of the Kenny Lattimore that they all love and know. You know, Kenny, you are a Grammy-nominated singer, songwriter, vocal powerhouse. You've been dubbed the modern soul man, known for delivering timeless songs that speak directly to the heart. From your breakout hit For You to your recent projects that have blended faith, love, and legacy, your music has been rooted in purpose. But beyond your voice, your voice is unbelievably a gift from God. Your journey of vulnerability, strength, deep spiritual grounding is what we're going to really get into today. Once again, I'm so blessed to be able to interview somebody who's been a friend, a confidant. We've had a lot of ups and downs together in our personal lives. And through it all, I've watched just how giving you are, how humble you are. And yet, so many people depend on you and you do it with grace. You don't complain. I'm hoping the listeners can get to see the side that I get to see, and I'm fortunate enough to see, of the Kenny Lattimore.
well, I appreciate that. Thank you for setting the atmosphere for that. Thank you for no boxes. That's a very important thing. And I love the whole verses thing because music is a part of everybody's life. So I think this is a wonderful way to have a conversation.
Music is a unifier, and one of the reasons why I even wanted to do this, I've been wanting to do a leadership podcast for a long time, but I didn't want to do it like everybody else did it. I wanted to do it, you know what I mean, in a way that was creative, and we'll get into how we even met creatively in that regard. I wanted to do it in that way, and it's always been about music and just how unifying it is. So let's just jump right into it. We both grew up in the D.C. area, so shout out to the DMV.
Yeah.
You know, we grew up listening to WHUR, Howard University Radio.
Absolutely. Completely shaped my life. Yeah.
You went to Howard. My dad went to Howard. It shaped so many lives in the D.C. area. And this first song from your childhood is actually one of my favorite songs. And this artist, I feel, doesn't get enough credit. This artist is amazing. And the song is called Infant Eyes by Jean Carn. Walk me through this stage of your life, of your early identity and affirmations.
You know, my mother was an incredible visionary and definitely a person that believed in affirming who I was. She was also extremely lyric conscious. She was like, songs are powerful and they reach your soul and they affect you in different types of ways. So she was very conscious about the types of lyrics that she would say. And Infant Eyes was a song about Jean Carn singing to her daughter, affirming her dreams, that she wanted her daughter to grow in love and have all of the best things in life. So my mom would literally hold my face and she would just sing these words from Infant Eyes into my heart and into my mind and into my spirit. It was part of my love for music, my understanding that music was powerful because it was a type of thing that would bring you to tears. But she was so connected in that moment. So when I see my son and my daughter, especially my daughter right now, because I'm 2.5-year-old, My son, he's grown up with me doing that. My son who I love, my son who I love. I say different things to him that my mom used to say. It may seem like little corny things, but things that they'll remember. But my daughter, I take her little face and I'll just say different things to her, and I can see her just look up at me like, oh my gosh, who is this guy? But I know it's going to affect her, for the rest of her life. She's going to hang on to these words and be shaped by them. So this song really shaped how I felt about love, how I felt about my dreams.
So your mother, Kenny, was musically inclined. So you kind of grew up with a mother who was spiritual and just like, did she ever try to sing or any of those type of things?
My family was very musical where my grandmother played the piano, my grandfather would sing, my great grandfather played the piano and sang. And so I think it was just a normal thing for us. We never looked at it like it should be a career necessarily. Although I think she had platforms of being on stage, but it was usually through college, through Howard University and Lincoln University that I saw her acting, doing all kind of things. There were like no boundaries to the things that she would try. But music was definitely a big part of our family, just in general. And she could sing. She had so much range. So a lot of people talk about my range and falsetto and all that. A lot of that came from her. My father can sing as well, but I think the power that I have in terms of my voice comes from dad, but the finesse and the range comes from my mother.
She saw a talent in you, and I happen to know that at an early age, she did something kind of unconventional when, like, when we grew up in the DC area, you're listening to Donny Hathaway and soul ballads and things of that nature. Let me tell you what I wasn't listening to: opera.
Right.
I was not. So talk us through how your mother saw that and what she kind of guided you. I mean, you even went to a performing arts school. Walk us kind of through that journey because what you had and the lesson you learned early is you had a supporter.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And that's so important. A supporter that's a visionary that really understood too that the music could mean something greater to me. I was severely shy. And I think my mom would watch me as a severely shy person kind of go off into a corner and sing. And I'm thinking, oh, this is my little world over here. I'm in my personal space and nobody really sees me, but I get to express myself. But she's listening. And eventually she was like, you want to take voice lessons? And I was like, voice lessons? I didn't know what voice lessons was. I was like, well, but yeah, okay. So I started singing like from the American Songbook first, like Frank Sinatra and Nat King Cole type songs, and eventually got into doing more classical music. It made me feel like I had more to offer. I don't know. It broke me out of some of the shyness as well. It made me feel like I just had a different kind of conversation that I was supposed to have with my life. And it was becoming clearer. I was doing something different. So I think she saw that. She saw the potential. And although she would affirm me and be like, man, you have a great voice and things like that, being an educator, she got me into those voice lessons. And I think that meant a lot more because it made me respect music on a different level and performance and other artists. What
I'm learning from a lot of leaders that we're talking to in this series is that, again, people see the output of their career. What they don't understand is the years and the hours of just being good at their craft. I mean, you were a young kid getting on the subway in DC by yourself to go to voice lessons all the way across a bridge. Like that's
Yeah. I would go to Boston, which if people from the DMV know, it's like Arlington, Virginia, but we lived at near the New Carrollton station. So it was a long, long train ride, but so worth it, so life-changing for me. And again, I was doing something that none of my friends were doing. We had never even heard of it before. But when I got back from voice lessons and I started to tell my teachers, oh, well, this weekend, I'm sorry, I have to go to voice lessons. They were like, what? What do you mean voice lessons? Oh, yeah, I sing. So I remember being in middle school and singing Unforgettable, That's What You Are. Everybody's screaming and caroling. I'm like, wait a minute, this is an old song that I'm just learning for my class. But they really felt the passion of what I had put into it already. And again, that made me feel like, oh wow, there's something greater to this.
Yeah.
It broke me out of the type of severe shyness that made me a recluse, that made me not want to share it. After a while, I was nervous as get out, but a lot of times they tell you do whatever. Sometimes you have to do whatever you're going to do afraid.
Yeah.
Just do it
Yeah.
scared.
Yep.
And I just took that in, and I would go out there and be like, "Phew, I might come back soaking wet from perspiration afterwards, but I would feel more progressive each time I sang, each time I shared that part of my life. I felt that I was breaking through a barrier.
That's that leadership lesson that so many leaders talk about, which is get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And
Yes,
that's how you grow.
absolutely.
And so
Absolutely.
you were going through that stage of your life. Let's walk through. Let's get to your second song. Let's walk through, this stage of your life where I think there's a lot of new heights, but some significant like lows in your life. You wind up going to a performing arts school, very well known in the DC area. It's Duke
Hmm.
Ellington, for right?
Actually, no, I would hang out at Duke Ellington. I actually
Okay.
didn't attend it, but I would hang out at Duke Ellington because once I became associated in Washington with performing arts, immediately people are like, you've got to know this student over here, you got to know that place. Duke Ellington was actually, interesting enough, where my mother went to high school before it was Duke Ellington. So we knew that the school existed. It had become extremely popular. But I was out in Maryland and Greenbelt and went to Eleanor Roosevelt, which had a really wonderful music department. But still, you're not wrong. I was spending a lot of time at Duke Ellington because I had friends in the district who
Gotcha.
pushed me beyond that. And when I would see those students, it would make you rethink everything. Like right when you thought, oh, well, I'm the most talented kid in my circle, until you went to Duke Ellington. And then you saw kids that were really studying even more extensively than you were. It was life changing to see those kids at Duke. Because when I go back to
Yeah.
Roosevelt, it would make me ask my professors or my teachers at that time, can you challenge me? Can you give me something even greater to do than we were doing on the solo type scale, as opposed
Mhm.
to the choirs? Because I was doing chamber music and choir and things like that, and 9 different languages. But singing classical music as a solo artist was still a different art. They'd give me solos in the choir and I won awards and things like that. But it was definitely different when I actually began to take on solo classical music.
You're a teenager doing 9 different
Yeah.
languages, like, that's just the work you're putting in, people don't see that, they don't know that, but great leaders put in a lot of work. I mean, that's just a common thread. So going to your second song, and, I know that this shaped you profoundly. The song is called "Sovereign" by Daryl Cooley. You suffered a deep loss. We've spent a lot of time talking about just the impact your family had on you, but in particular, your mother. And so, kind of walk us through this period of your life, which I know was very painful.
Yeah. It's interesting. By the time I finished high school, got to Howard University, my mother is working at Howard University. She's a counselor and an educator there. So on a daily basis, I could be like, I'm going to my mom's office. Some kids have had that experience and some kids don't like it. Some people are like, I don't want my parent to be on camp. Oh, Lord, I want my own life, whatever. But it was a safe space for me. And I watched my mother help to propel the lives of so many other students and help them to get grounded. I watched her help African students. We used to have African boarders in our home as she was helping students from Ghana and South Africa and Nigeria to acclimate with being in the US as students. So, very different kind of life. It was not unusual for me to go and, spend time in her office and all. But I had grown up pretty much on the campus of Howard University ever since my early memories of 4 and 5 years old, because that's when she was a student. So if you can imagine, I'm legacy, I'm attending, and I'm an architecture and planning student, as a matter of fact, not even a music student. But
Right.
even though we had this path that we had started with me getting involved in music with private voice lessons and all, my parents wanted me to be broader and have choices. So they were like, well, we don't know how to necessarily land you a record deal or what have you. But if you have skill, they maybe respect having skill in different areas of life. So what happened was during my first year at Howard, I got a record deal and I started to make shifts and I ended up doing more in the fine arts my second year. It was crazy. Like architecture did great, but then I was in fine arts and the next thing you know, and but I was learning all these different things and my mom is just giving me all these wonderful nuggets. But what people didn't know was that when I was a senior in high school, when I was coming out, she made an announcement to me that she had cancer. When she made the announcement, I said to myself, well, I don't believe that it's going to take your life. I had a childlike faith. I had a faith that nope, by faith, God is not going to allow you to leave us. It's going to be okay. You're going to be healed, whatever. And I held on to that and held on to that. And what was wonderful is she did live years past what they thought. What my parents did not tell me was that they had given her maybe 6 months to live. She ended up living like 3.5 years after that, which allowed her to see me attend Howard and release my first album with a group called Mannequin, which, wow, after she saw that, she passed like a month after.
Wow.
Was very painful because it was difficult for me to walk the campus to do anything Howard related. As a matter of fact, it took me almost 10 years before I could walk the campus. It was about somewhere between 9 or 10 years before I did go back on the campus of Howard once she passed. And a flood of memories coming back. They were great memories, but nevertheless emotional times. Yeah, it was a really tough time losing not only my life mentor, but my nurturer, my
Yeah.
hope, my faith. It was a lot there, and I wasn't sure what I was going to turn out like as a man.
Yeah, I mean, she had laid such a great foundation for you that I know you really always just wanted to make her proud, and she obviously was proud, is proud, all of those things I know for a fact are true, and you really had to learn how to be resilient in a way that has carried you as a leader throughout the rest of your life.
Definitely. And I did have two men wonderful in my life. I don't want to make it sound like my mother just did everything by herself because she did not. My natural father, still a part of my life to this day. He was there, but I also had a bonus dad who the guy that was paying for those vocal lessons with my mom and taking me and nurturing my education was also I call him my bonus dad, Charles Ryan. So the nucleus of that is what helped to sustain me. Still a difficult time period because I'm wondering, okay, now what am I supposed to do? I'm 21 now. Am I supposed to go out on my own? So that was immediately what I did. I moved out. I moved out and tried to live on my own and figure life out. All kind of craziness trying to sustain myself. I was making like no money singing and I was working, hoping to make it in the music industry. With all of the transitions and everything that happened with my mom and then losing her, I had to come to grips with, okay, this was this woman that taught me so much about faith and believing in God and all of that. And I didn't want to be angry with God. I was confused. I really was because I was like, Lord, why did this happen? So the song Sovereign by Daryl Coley was what I held on to. And it was just that, God can do whatever he wants to, when, however he wants to, because he's sovereign. And I had to allow myself to walk past my emotion and my hurt, not walk past the grieving, because grieving is very different for everybody. There were times, years would pass. I remember I was dating this young lady and we were near the area where my mom used to go to the hospital. And I was just having a conversation with her. Oh, yeah. And then I went up here and I said this to my mama. And then she said, and eventually I just lost it, like right there. And it was years after she was gone. What I learned was to take my moments with grieving and
Yeah.
not allow anybody to take that away from me.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for like, the listeners really need to hear that I had an incident, obviously, as we've been friends for a while. When I lost my father, you were there for me. I remember years later being in a CVS store and a song that he really liked came on. And he had, like I said, been passed for many years. And felt paralyzed. My whole body just stopped, and I just starts crying and crying, and you know what? So a lady walked past me, and she doesn't know me, she put her arm on me, and she said, "It's gonna be alright, God's got you."
I love
And
it.
I was
I
like
love it.
just a stranger, and I was like, "Yeah, he does got me." But it's that you gotta, like, grieve. Like, people, we just have to grieve, and if you're walking down the street with a friend or you're in the CVS and the spirit moves you to cry, get it out.
Get it out.
Okay.
Yes. Excellent.
Let it
Excellent.
go.
Yep.
Like, so anyway, I really felt that, and I think people need to hear that. It's okay to grieve, and as long as you need to. Let's get into kind of the third lesson where you actually finally listen to the calling, right? And the song and this is when you made a very pivotal move that changed your life, really, at that stage for sure. And you moved to New York. And the song you picked was I Won't Forget Whose I Am, and it's your song, and I gotta tell you, in prepping for this, now, you and I have been literally all around the world together. I have been to a million Kenny Lattimore concerts in my life, like, a lot. In particular, I remember we did basically a missionary trip to South Africa where we were going into villages and literally, like, giving shoes to people and washing the feet, like, just in a very spiritual way, connecting with folks. And I remember being in South Africa with you, and 2 stories jump out for me. One, we got off of the plane. You and I are walking off. The people your band is walking. We're all kind of like a nucleus around you. And this lady who worked at the airport literally pushes everybody out the way. I think I'm the closest to you, and y'all know I'm a pretty petite, small person. It took her, like, just one little elbow to push me out the way, and she started serenading you, singing for you. Like, it was just crazy. Like, it was like rock star status. You performed at a stadium there to, like, tens of thousands of people. It may have been 100,000 people there. It was huge, and I remember being backstage looking out going, "Oh my gosh, we're traveling with a rock star right now." So I've been
Oh,
a
it's
lot of
amazing.
places with you. I
Mhm.
tell my listeners that story to say I know a lot of your discography. Like, I know a lot of your songs, like a lot of them. And I'll share my favorite at the end. But this song in particular, I feel like I've only heard you sing it maybe once or twice, like, I never hear you sing this song. So tell us how you picked it.
The I Won't Forget Whose I Am really was my tribute song that I wrote for my mom. On my first album, I was like, I wanted to have a gospel song on every single album as a way to, it was almost like giving something back to God for the blessings that He had done, the blessings He had given me. And I was like, well, this is going to be the song. I won't forget whose I am no matter what happens. I'm not going to chase after the riches and fame, and I'm not going to chase after these things, but if they happen, I just want to remain in the favor of God. And I'm not going to lose myself in whatever happens. And thank God for that song because it really does describe how I lived my life and what I held on to. And I feel like, yes, I'm sane. I did not get so caught up in the pursuit of things that I lost myself because I see so many people do it. It wasn't just me. It wasn't just the song, but the song was the soundtrack to me making good relationships with people like yourself, Shannon, who would hold me accountable, who could cry with me or just have those hard conversations and talk me off the ledge and remind me of who I was. That's how I didn't forget. It wasn't that I just within myself didn't forget who I was. It was all of those that were around me that helped me to remember the sacrifices and remember what was important.
It's such a beautiful song and understanding the meaning behind it, because I never knew the meaning behind it as long as we've known each other. Like I said, I was surprised, and I was like, "Oh, okay." So I do hope you'll consider adding that song back to your lineup because you don't really do it that much. And it really talks about that leadership lesson of being humble, like humble leaders. It really is a reflection of how you really wanted to make sure you stayed grounded,
Yeah, that was
you
a
know?
conscious decision because I think a lot of times people think that certain things just automatically happen and they don't. It's very important to be intentional
Yeah.
about a lot of aspects in life.
So at this point, you've gone to New York, you've had a very successful career. I remember, I don't know if this was your first music video, but it was up there in the beginning where you did this music video. You're on like, I want to say on top of a roof or something. Like you're,
Oh, yeah, that
yeah.
was the first
Was
one.
that the
Oh,
first one? I
the
remember
first
that.
one. I felt so important. That was Never Too Busy. Like, going to a set, it was like I'm on a movie set, and all these people to hear from me. There's craft services and food. And I was like, this is all for me. I wasn't famous then, but it did feel important. Like, wow, this could be something. And I have this people that believe in me. That's what it really was.
Yeah.
I have people that believe in me enough that they're actually putting money into exposing my gift. That was overwhelming, actually.
You went on to have quite a few hits and lots more videos than that, and we'll get to the iconic song. We'll get to it. But before we get there, you've lived a very public life and there's a lot out there about you and relationships. And so you picked for your fourth song, Don't You Worry About a Thing by Stevie Wonder, which, I mean, any playlist with Stevie Wonder is like a winner playlist. But, Kenny, there were some high profile transitions in your life, a very public divorce, things of that nature. So kinda walk us through we're now at this part of your career where you've done a lot. You're touring, you're making new music, having new hits, but there's some stuff going on in your private life that is difficult. So walk us through that and why that song.
Yeah. Interesting. Don't You Worry About a Thing it was almost like my mom's voice again. It was me holding on to my mother's voice as a child. That was another song she used to sing to me. And the students at Lincoln University used to sing that to me. It was just a hot song when I was a little child. And I just remember that being all these things just being embedded in me. Like, who would have known when I was 4 or 5 years old that these things would mean something as an adult? So when I went through some difficult times and I needed to pull on some songs and I needed to pull on some things, that song is just the hook was powerful. And it let me know again the power of music. And Stevie Wonder is my musical hero. He
Yeah.
completely is one of the people that made me love music so early in my life. So when you're going through something painful, it's almost like you go back to the fetal position. You go back to those early years in your life that were developmental. So going back and hearing Stevie's voice tell me, don't you worry about a thing. Reminding me of my mother's voice telling me, don't you worry about a thing. Reminding me of scripture that I didn't have to worry because no weapon formed against me would prosper. I know that's a song too. And I actually learned, wow, through those lessons that was true too, that scripture was true.
Mm.
Because it's one thing to talk about the Bible and talk about things that you've learned. But when you are put in a position where you have to depend on those words, you begin to treasure them in a different way.
Yeah.
You begin to understand that, wow, this is what is sustaining me. Not that you don't cry, not that you don't have difficult times, but as a leader going to the next phase in what you're supposed to do, living on purpose, living in purpose, there's so many things that are going to come to try to stop you. And they may be personal things, they may be professional things. Because I've heard a lot of people that, oh, no, I'm not doing the music industry anymore. I hate the music industry. But wait a minute, what about your purpose? Why did you fall in love with music in the first place? Was it, again, to become famous? Or was it to give music to the people? Was it to give it to yourself? I mean, I prayed with my dad, because I know my son already has this, the gift of music. But I was praying that my daughter would have it as well. Not that she'd have to have a career in it, but there's something soothing about being able to sing to yourself and minister to yourself
Yeah.
a word like that, that even in your toughest time that I could sing, you know, don't you worry about a thing. I could sing whatever, or that no weapon formed against me. I could sing any of those songs and meditate on it through voice. And it's transforming. You don't have to sing it well. It's not about how good or bad. It's just transforming, taking in the melody and the word of it, soothing and soothes your spirit.
It's transformational because it really helped get you through a difficult time. The words, the lyrics, and then obviously he is just his voice is soothing. Several of the people that we're interviewing for this season are picking Stevie Wonder songs. It's no surprise to me that great leaders all identify with some Stevie Wonder music. So very excited about that. So let's get into kind of where you are today. You've got 2 beautiful kids, a beautiful wife. Let's talk about your family and just the state of where you are today. And listeners, the song, of course, that we have to pick for this stage of Kenny's life is For You by Kenny Lattimore.
And it's really because music evolves with you. Music takes on new meaning. For you, I have a new project coming pretty soon, and I have a new version of For You. I feel like when I sing it now, I sing it from a different place. It means something completely different than in 1996 when I wasn't even in love, actually. And I'm singing this song because it was a standard for me. It was my belief of what love should be. And now to actually live it, I probably should do my whole first album over, actually. I think my whole sense of expression would be different because now I know experientially what these songs mean, whereas I really didn't before. I was using my technique and whatever life experience that I had, the little bit I had, to convey the message. But now I'm like, oh my Lord, when I think about what I want to give to my wife and my children and the legacy that I would like to leave behind, it is all encompassed in that song, For You.
I love how you use the word legacy because I really do feel that this stage of your leadership, of your passion, is all about how do you be impactful? How are you legacy building? Even just the things and we'll get into what's up next, the things you're working on in the music industry and outside the music industry is all about impact and what you're building. And I think For You is literally the perfect song to put you in that mindset every time you listen to it. And it's such a blessing that you brought that to the world.
And there was a time when I was tired of singing. This is like so crazy because I felt like over and over and over, I'm singing the same thing. And I did a version that was like a straight ahead version. And I was doing this jazzy version For You. Da, 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 da. And it was nice. But then I realized something though. And it took some other artists and some people to just pull my coattail a little bit and say, Kenny, it's like you're messing with somebody else's song. You're messing with somebody else's moment in their life where when they heard this, it had a tremendous impact and it sounded like this for them. And even though you may be having a personal moment, you are the one that set this in motion. Can you give them their song the way they need to hear it? Oh, and I was like, wow, that was another moment of growth and maturity because it was like, take yourself out of this and remember the purpose of the song again. I went back and I started doing it like the album and I put breaks in it to make it interesting to sing for me as an artist so that I would continue to grow as I'm singing. But pretty much I'm singing the melody, singing every lick. I'm not cutting anything out, doing new arrangements of it because it has been a staple in so many people's lives. That's one thing I did learn.
To the point of this podcast, it's like these songs take you back to some type of memory, positive or negative memory, but it is a part of you. And to have you, the artist, change it, how dare you? I need that song to be like it was in 1990, whatever, because I was doing this and it makes me feel this way. I mean, and
There it is. Yeah.
it's learning as a leader that it isn't a lot of times about you. It's about how you make other people feel.
That's it. That's it.
Right?
How you make people feel. And that's when I'm in purpose. If I'm singing to the hearts of women and to the minds of men to encourage them in love, I have to do it in a way that's going to resonate with them and they're going to be able to take that in and it be effective. Effective communication. It's like having a communication with somebody, but you're using all these big words that they don't even understand. And it's like, it's not effective. Right. Let's go back to what they relate to, what they understand and resonates with them. So.
Yeah, so don't change it. Keep it up. I like how you add little stuff here and then in your show, like you'll sing For You in Spanish in the beginning.
Oh, right, yeah.
And that's a little bit of a twist.
And that was another one that I didn't think it was a big deal. I thought, oh, well, but I sing that little bit in there, and my Hispanic fans are like, "Thank you so much."
Nice.
Who would have known?
It's
Just a
nice.
little bit of, well, I'll say Spanglish because I go back and forth, but just a little bit just to acknowledge that the song has been bigger than just those lyrics.
Hearing you sing it in Spanish, do it, Kenny. Just do a little bit of it.
Ah, por ti yo cruzaría un río de pasión, cantando de esta canción.
Right. People, every time you do it, people are like, ah. So
Yeah, it's
thank you for
amazing.
that. We could talk all day. I know we have to wrap this up. We could talk all day. So, a couple things. I love to ask two things at the end. One is, what are you working on? How can we support you? How can we follow you? Because people are going to want to be always on the know of what's going on with Kenny Lattimore. So, there's that part.
I love it. I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. We have to support you. And then the second part is I ask what songs really you're either playing now or motivate you the most. And this is just like a bonus for our guests. But before we do all of that, I did promise that I was going to share my favorite Kenny Lattimore
Ah,
songs.
yes, yes.
And I love all of them. And obviously for you, I mean, for you is like a one that people would expect me to say. So that's why I'm not going to say it. And I'm gonna pick a song that actually transports me back to a moment in time where I had had a really difficult work week, and as you know, our eldest son is autistic, and some stuff had been going down with him, and I was just really concerned about, like, the daycare wasn't gonna take him, like, it was all these things, I didn't know what I was gonna do, and so I just wasn't having a good week, and I remember as clear as day, Kenny, this is when we had that house in Calabasas, and I remember turning on, like, you could turn on your cable and hear
Oh,
songs,
the
and sometimes
music
you just the
channels,
music channel,
yeah.
yep, and I remember I was just cleaning in the kitchen or, doing some stuff, making a little breakfast, whatever, and Weekend came on. And it's hard to not smile when Weekend comes on, and I remember being in such a bad mood, and then that song just totally made me happy, and now I got the broom, and I'm just going through the house, it's the weekend, and I'm just dancing and just not thinking like Stevie Wonder, I'm not worrying about a thing because it just made me so happy, and so now every time you sing it, every time I hear it, it's actually on heavy rotation in my own playlist, my workout playlist, it's on it, because I just get happy when I hear that song.
Oh, man, thank you so much. That means a lot. Troy Taylor was the producer of that, who is a phenomenal friend and another person who has a heart for mentoring. And wow, when we did that song, who knew? I just thought, oh, yeah, this is something simple. This, and it became the album title, and people got really excited about it. We did the video. It was so much fun. But you sharing that means a lot to me because sometimes as artists, you do so many songs that you don't realize what touches someone's heart or what uplifts them. So to hear that, that means the song has even more value to me now. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I
and you've
appreciate it.
done so many, I mean, let's, like, You Are My Starship remake, like, the songs you've done have
Ah,
been incredible, like, to be clear.
thanks.
It's just something about that song actually transports me back to a weekend where I actually was like, "Stop feeling sorry for yourself, get up,
Mm.
be happy, just let this song take you over," and that's what it does for me.
You know what I can tell you too, as an artist, so that the other artists that listen to this will take certain things into consideration. I did not have Weekend in my set for a long time, for many years. It was not in the set.
Mm.
And I would hear people go, "The Weekend, Weekend," and I would be like, oh, they know. The reason why was because I had gotten caught up, not fully caught up, but I just a tad caught up in the charts. When I put Weekend out, I was in a huge transition with Arista Records. Clive Davis had signed me there. And then he was booted out of the label. L.A. Reid came in and embraced me, and he wanted to put out a song. And he put out Weekend as the first single, which was great. But, I've never said this before, but Usher had a song out and Babyface had a song. So the three of us on the same label had songs out. And no matter what happens, there are politics and things that get involved. We had success with Weekend. The support that I have was not as much as what an Usher or Babyface got, which people probably understand. So as a result, I started thinking that it was a failure. And eventually, I was hearing people say that they knew the song. I remember going to London and I did not do the song in London. And people were like, wow, you didn't do the Weekend. And I was like, I didn't know that y'all even knew the song, you know? So I had to get out of my own way and not make it about that, but make it about what I felt in the moment or do research and ask the audience. This is what was so beautiful about technology is you can get on the internet now and say, hey, what songs do you guys want to hear or what do you know?
And that is such a powerful leadership lesson, which is as leaders, we think a lot of times we have the right answer, but being
Ah,
able to, right? Being able to be
woo.
wrong, being able to then say, I'm going to change because I've listened to my customers, I've listened to my team, etc. That's a huge leadership lesson that you have to be able to pivot and be okay to be wrong and change your decision.
And it's powerful what you're saying because it even is indicative to how I have sustained my career and I have new hit records. It's because as a leader, I had to say, I need to learn from the younger generation. I need to learn. So there's a guy named Trakar Wesley, we call him Madison. He's a phenomenal artist. I started working with Madison and I was like, what does the new adult want to hear? And he has produced every single song, including my new song that's coming out called Love on It. Love on It is it's going to remind you of a 70s throwback with a modern twist, almost like Silk Sonic. And some of the guys I think that worked on that album have worked on this song. But the whole thing as a leader, and I love that you mentioned that, is staying in a position of learning, constantly being in a position where you never stop learning. I don't care how old you get. I may be able to give millions of lessons of things, but that young person comes in and they teach me something different, particularly in the space where we are with AI, in the space that we are with all this technology, and they are more fearless. I would say young people are more fearless than even my generation of artists because we depended on those labels to do everything for us.
Yeah.
So looking at these artists coming up, sometimes I feel bad because I want to be able to tell them how to be successful in the industry from a standpoint of commercial success. But then I realized that commercial success leads to so many different things that the best advice that I can give them is how to be successful as a person in the music industry. And that is to continue to love what you do. Never let anybody take that part away from you. It can't be bought or sold. If you are like, you know what, this didn't go so great for me, but I remember why I loved it in the first place. And I keep going back to that.
I love it, Kenny. I love it. Well, listen, tell our listeners
Thanks.
how we can support you, what you got coming down the pike. Like, give us all the details.
All right. So the Love on It single is coming at you now. We shot video and everything. It's with a gentleman named Nicholas Cole. He's an incredible keyboardist. We collaborated on this song. I just have had a great time. It's a really great feel good song. You can look me up at KennyLattimore.com. It'll have all my social medias at Kenny Lattimore for Instagram, official Kenny Lattimore for TikTok and Facebook. And a lot of people tell me they're very inspired by the content that my wife, you know her as Judge Faith,
Yeah.
she creates a lot of our family content to just give you a glimpse inside of our lives. And she's got some great stuff going on. Her Killer Relationship show has been renewed for its fourth season on
Yay.
Oxygen. And she also has another show called Virtual Justice that's coming that we're super excited about. So there's a lot happening within our family. As a leader, you learn how to support your spouse too. You learn how to support the
Do.
dreams of your friends and those that are around you. And that's a healthy place to be because some people get jealous or I wish I had.
Right.
But when you're in a circle of people where everybody's celebrating one another, usually everybody has success.
That's right. That's right. My dad used to always say, if you're in a friend group where the people in your friend group aren't like achieving, doing great things, et cetera, and you're like the only person in your friend group that's achieving things, he's like, you got to find another friend group because you're in the wrong one. Where can we catch up with Faith and all the things that she's working on?
You can go to, I believe, judgefaithjenkins.com. And she has, the website. She's got a wonderful newsletter that comes out.
And then, Kenny, give us, what is that one song that you're listening to right now or just brings you joy?
Oh my gosh. I'm going to say from Lucky Day's last album, It's You, which is it feels like something from the past. And I love the progressions and how he sings his whole approach to it. There's so many great songs out now that I'm just hoping get as much exposure as possible.
Yeah.
Because at every generation, we hold on to our songs that we grew up with or what have you. But again, I'm trying to keep my ear open so that I can continue to enjoy. And you know what? I'm also enjoying almost anything that Samara Joy sings because what a phenomenal voice, an effortless, timeless voice that gives ode to another era. They're young people who I love it when they're again studied, like I grew up trying to study and give time to understand and appreciate those that came before me and open the doors for me.
Yeah.
But when you have young artists that have that great balance of studying, understanding the significance, but then and operating in excellence, wow, it inspires me and it makes me go, yeah, I appreciate my journey even more when I watch an artist like that.
So powerful, Kenny. I mean, your playlist is just so spiritual. It's full of lessons learned and faith and resilience and joy. Seeing this trend with so many successful leaders that these are the ingredients, if you will, that have made them successful. I can't thank you enough for being on the No Boxes Just Versus podcast. I just
Thank you
cannot
for
thank you
having me.
enough. Let's recap your 5 lessons real quick. So your first song was Infant Eyes, and it really talks about the beginnings of your life and the supporters and just the hard grinding work you had to put in. Your second song was Sovereign, and it's really talking about the resilience and the faith you had to have through loss and just lots of ups and downs in your life. Your third song was I Won't Forget, and that's a very personal song to you. I love how you shared why you even did that song and how it really helped propel you in that period of your life where you could have gone off the path, but you stayed very humble as a leader. And I know it wasn't easy. So that song was a reminder, quite frankly, to keep you on that path. You wound up having lots of success, but as we all know, publicly things may look good, whereas in our personal lives, we have a lot of things that are not so good. And you went through a pretty troubled time in your personal life, and there's lots out there on it. But how you got through was listening to songs like Don't You Worry About a Thing, which really taught you resilience. And now you're kind of in this new stage of life with your beautiful family, new music, and just really have gone through a life full of twists and turns. But ultimately, I know you are a man of faith. You give back a lot of your time, you mentor a lot of people, and you're really trying to be impactful in this stage of your life. And that is the perfect segue to For You. So thank you for sharing your
Thank
playlist
you.
with our listeners.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me and allowing me to get these stories out because I know that they do mean something and some people are looking for hope and they're looking for a direction and things like that. So hopefully this story will mean something even and some of the songs that I mentioned will be even greater. And thank you for this podcast that does the work.
Thank you, Kenny. And we can't wait to support your new music. So
Yay!
go see Kenny Lattimore at a city near you.
Yes.
And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for listening to No Boxes, Just Verses. And if this episode moved y'all, please share it, rate us, follow the show on your favorite platform, and we can keep building our leadership playlists together. So you can find me, guys, on Instagram as Shannon Nash 1 and No Boxes Just Verses on Instagram. You can also find me on LinkedIn as Shannon Nash ESQ CPA. You can also find No Boxes Just Verses on LinkedIn. You can visit our website at noboxesjustverses.com. Finally, don't forget to check out the show notes. The show notes are super important because this is where the playlists will live. You will be able to get these playlists on Apple and Spotify. You'll also be able to follow up and see how to reach out to the guests, follow them, and support them. Until next time, I need you to stay unboxed. You come for the stories, but you stay for the playlists. I'm Shannon Nash, and I'm out.